What's up guys, welcome back once again to the reviews. Today I'm checking out this case here. This is the Arx 500 from Endorfy, or Endorfy, however you want to pronounce it. So basically I've done the build in this already, so we're going to take you through, have a look around the case, show you what it's all about, what things it can take, what things it can't take, talk about fan installations, where you can put hard drives, all that kind of thing. Basically give you a complete tour around the case. I'm doing it a little bit different to normal. I normally do a sort of overview and then do a build later on, but I've done the build already, so I can basically now show you around it. You'll be able to see what it looks like when it's got a build inside it. So let's get on with it and have a look. Right, so first of all, let's talk about the actual specs of the case in terms of the size of it. So it's 486 by 228 by 429 in terms of size, so that gives you an idea on how big this case is. This also comes, they do an Arx 700, which is the bigger version of it, which basically is for longer that way, so you can fit longer graphics cards in it and more cooling up top. But let's start by talking about the front. So the front panel here just pops off with basically two sort of connections down the bottom here, and you just pop the front forward. It's magnetic at the top and that comes off straight away. Now in the case, as standard on the ARGB version, you get four 140 Fluctus fans in the front. However, I'm using three 120s because I'm using an AIO in the front, and it's a 360, and you can't fit a 360 in top, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. So like I say, you can get up to four 140mm fans or four 120mm fans in the front here. Like I say, it comes with four as standard, so it comes with three 140s in the front and one 140 in the back, which is absolutely great, and they are ARGB fans. You've got this mounting sort of plate here which can be removed and taken out, so you can fit your fans and your radiators to it before you put it into the case, and that's all these thumb screws you see all the way down here, so you can take those out and basically then put your radiator and everything on and then pop it into the case afterwards, which makes installation a lot easier. Whilst we're here, as well as taking that front sort of mesh panel off, you can also take the side panel, the side surround off as well, which has, hopefully you can see that on camera, has ventilation down the side as well, which is nice. So plenty of ventilation on this. It is like all mesh at the front and the top, so there should be lots of airflow here, and that gives you a bit more access to things. Well, not a lot to be honest with you, but if you need access around here, then you've got a bit more space here to work with. Whilst we're at the front, let's talk about the dust cover. So there is a full length dust cover underneath, which comes out just by pulling it from the front. It is just a flexible magnetic one, but it does have guides underneath to help you slide it in. So you've got a dust filter that goes all the way along the bottom, which obviously will cover your PSU, and on any fans you've got at the bottom, which I'll show in a moment. It will stop any dust getting in from that way as well. Also, whilst we're at the front end of the case, we might as well talk about the front IO, or top IO as it is. It's on the right hand side at the top. Might have been better if it was on the left side over here, because that's obviously where you're going to be sat in terms of this case really, for most people. But they put it over here. Obviously that helps in terms of design for getting it over here, because you've got more space over here to work with, because that's where your back panel is. Now in terms of what you get, obviously you get a power button, you get a reset switch, which is also on the ARGB version is repurposed into the controller for controlling the ARGB. However, you don't have to use that, you can put it into the motherboard and use it as a reset button, but this also allows you to switch it over to motherboard settings as well, so you can connect it directly to your motherboard, control your ARGB that way, and use that button to switch it over to that. You've also got two USB 3A ports. You've got a microphone port, a headphone port, not combined, you've got separate ones, which is good, and you've also got a USB-C at the back there as well. So plenty of I/O for most people, should be more than enough for most people. Obviously you've also always got your motherboard I/O as well for more USBs, but easy access up the front there. Now if we come around to the side, we've got a tempered glass panel on the side, which is obviously standard with most gaming chassis these days. It's easily removable. There's just two thumb screws at the back here. You just undo those. They are over tight from default, so you have to use the screwdriver to get them off them the first time, but they just come off, and then the panel just slides off. Basically you got these sort of two tabs here at the front that slide into here as well, so they hold it in there. In terms of tinting, there's not much at all really. If I just move that in front of the camera and then move it away, you can see if there's any tinting there at all. There isn't much at all, to be honest with you, on this case. It's pretty much clear. Right, let's talk about the interior of it. So basically the business end of it, where your components are going to go. So whilst I'm here, I'll talk about the specs of the system that I've got in here. I've got a B550E board from Asus, and I'm running a 5900X, which is cooled by the Endorfy Navis F360 360mm cooler. We've got 4 times 8GB of T-Force Delta RGB from Team Group. Obviously it looks absolutely lovely. At the top we've got the 2 Fluxus fans that come with it from the front, and one at the back as well. Obviously I've got one spare. And then for GPU we've got the Founders Edition RTX 3080 10GB. Fits in there perfectly. In terms of graphic card lengths, you can get up to 350mm of space. That's without the radiator in the front. So if you are putting a radiator in the front, that is going to eat into your space. I was originally going to put a 7900 XTX Red Devil in there, but with the radiator it wouldn't fit. So just bear that in mind. If you're going to be putting a really long graphics card in here, then you will more than likely lose the ability to put the radiator in the front and might have to put one on the top. Now in terms of cooling, for air cooling support, obviously radiators are different for AIOs. You can get up to 179mm of clearance this way for an air cooler, so pretty big air coolers can go in this, no problem. Got plenty of space. As you can see, I've used a 360 in the front, which means these cables go at a sort of weird angle across it and actually do touch the glass when you put the glass on. So personally, if I was going to do this again, I'd probably go for the 280 or the 240 up top and stick one up there instead of having one in the front, because it's just the way the cables route. Or if you've got a different AIO that routes a bit differently, it might be a bit better. But with this particular one, as you can see, the cables kind of come out at a weird angle. Now in terms of cooling, I've also already mentioned about the 340mm fans at the front. You can get 2 140mm fans at the top, and also 2 120mm fans, either or, at the top as well. So depending on what you want, you can have 2 140s, but like I say, you get some with it anyway. And you can get a 120 or a 140 at the back here. So as well as that, in terms of radiator compatibility, you can get up to a 280 at the top. Obviously you can get 240 or 120s up there, up to a 120 at the back it states. You may be able to fit a 140 in it if you're clever with it, and then up to a 360 at the front. You've also got down here for cooling, there's a space for a 120mm fan. It would have been nice if it could have made it so it could fit a 140, but obviously I understand why not. Just so you could, if you were doing what I've done, you could repurpose the spare fan and put it down there for extra GPU cooling. And then in terms of storage in the front compartment, you can get 2 SSD 2.5-inch drives there if you need. Motherboard form factor is up to ATX, no eATX support here. As you can see, well, you might be able to see at the back, there's sort of an angle where the cables go through the rubber grommets. Yes, it has got rubber grommets pretty much everywhere, which is nice. So that stops you from putting eATX in it. Unless you could get clever with it again, but up to ATX is the official supported motherboard. Other than that, in terms of the inside, there is 7 PCIe slots which are reinstallable, so removable and reinstallable. They're not the ones you snap out, which again is nice to see. Rubber grommet hole at the front here for your GPU cable to go through, and it's in a really nice place. I think it works really well with this cable here, this extension I've got. And then you've also got 2 big cutouts at the back there for your sort of USB connections, ARGBs, front panel headers and things like that. And then you've got up the top here, hopefully you can see, you've got another rubber grommeted cable hole up there for your EPS and for your fans and things like that. Would have been nice to have another one over that side just for routing ARGB and things like that through, and other fans, because that's generally where your CPU fan header is, but there isn't one there. However, you can make it look quite tidy. It doesn't look too bad in this that I've done here. But there is quite a bit of space at the top there, so as you can see, that's where if you had a radiator, there's plenty of room to get that and your fans, and it's offset towards the front as well. We'll have a quick talk about the rear while we're here. Obviously it's a standard IO slot there, fan slot there, which I've already talked about, PCIe slots. It does have this cover for your screws for your PCIe slots. It doesn't require a screw to undo it, which I really like, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my god, not one of these. However, it's just magnetically closes, which is nice. I like, nice little touch there. There is no vertical GPU support here, so you would have to get a bracket to do that yourself if you wanted to do vertical GPUs. And then the PSU basically has this bracket here that fits onto your PSU, and then you slide your PSU in from that side with your cables and then tighten it all in. So that's all there really is to say about the sort of back end of it. Round in the back compartment, again, it's just 2 thumb screws. Just remove them and slide back, and the panel comes off. And then this is where obviously all your cable management is going to go off. You've got probably a good 1.5 inches of depth for cable management, so plenty in there really. I've not found it too much of an issue. Obviously, this isn't the best cable management job at all, but this is just a quick job, and I personally think it looks all right. Down the bottom where your PSU goes, obviously I mentioned the dust cover before, you've got up to 300 millimeters in length, so any PSU basically can go in there. Included on the ARGB version, not on the normal version, the Air version, you get the ARGB hub, which basically can take 5 fans, both PWM and ARGB connections, and also can link both to the motherboard for PWM control and ARGB control. Now in terms of storage at the back here, you've got 2 compartments here for SSDs. You can also fit 2 more here using these screw holes here. You can fit 2 more SSDs coming out this way, so you can get 4 in this sort of area, and then down the bottom you can get 1 2.5 inch or 1 3.5 inch hard drive or SSD in the bottom down there, so plenty of room for storage. Like I say, 1 2 3 4 5 in the back, 2 in the front. That's up to 7 SSDs if you're using SATA drives. Right, that's pretty much the whole case covered, I believe. So we'll get all the panels back on, do a little bit of B-roll to show you what it looks like fully with all the panels back on again, and then obviously I'll talk about at the end how well it performs in terms of thermals, and we'll basically do it with covers on and with covers off, to see how the thermals are basically. Right, so we've been through the case, we've talked about everything, all the features you need to know about this case, what it can fit and everything like that, and we've talked about the spec of the build as well, which I will pin in the comments below for reference for anyone that doesn't see that part of the video for some reason or whatever, or wants to know quickly what I've used basically for this build. So let's talk about the thermal performance of it. So I've tested both CPU and GPU temperatures with basically the case completely closed off with the front panel and the side panel on, and then with the front panel and side panel taken off to see basically how good the airflow is on this case. And spoiler alert, it's absolutely fantastic. You've also seen obviously what it looks like through when I was taking you through the case, and I've done a little bit of B-roll to show you so you can see how good the case actually looks, and I think it looks absolutely awesome for a mid-tower case. Looks absolutely brilliant. So first of all, let's talk about the CPU temperatures. So idle when it was open and closed, exactly the same at 31 degrees. Obviously we are pulling fresh air directly into the radiator at the front, so absolutely fantastic, no problem with that whatsoever. And then in terms of basically the benchmark results, when the case was completely closed, we got a maximum of 57 on the CPU package and a average of 55. Yeah, really low on this is basically Cinebench multi-core for 5 minutes, and I was at 21 degrees ambient temperature, holding a clock speed of 4.15 all core. And then when we opened the case up, we were at 22 degrees ambient temperature, so we've risen a little bit, but we got exactly the same results. You got 57 maximum and 55 average, and again we're holding the same clock speeds, so you can see basically there's a degree difference in it, but it's pretty much nothing. If there was decimals in there, which for some reason I've not got it set up on hardware info to show you the decimals, then you probably would see they're even closer, but absolutely fantastic. Just goes to show how good the airflow is through that front panel, that mesh panel. Absolutely brilliant. Well done Endorfy for that. And then we moved on to GPU temperatures. So we use Unigine superposition at 1080p extreme, basically everything turned up to the max, to push the GPU as hard as we can, and we basically left the fan curve as stock on the RTX 3080, so let it do what it does from factory, so it doesn't ramp up very fast, so it's kind of a worst case scenario really. So when the case was closed, we got a maximum of 75.4 degrees and an average of 61, and the room temperature again was at about 21 degrees. And then when the case was closed, we got a maximum of 75 and a average of 60.6, and again the temperature in this room was about 22 for that test. So basically we dropped probably a degree, if that really. Obviously Obviously I'll put the graphs up on the screen for you to see, but again, pretty much identical temperatures on the GPU as well, with it both open and closed. So fantastic result in terms of airflow. So that's all there really is to tell you about it. You've seen the case, you've seen what it can do, you've seen how it looks when it's got a build in it with all the RGB lights on. Like I say, there is an air version of this which just comes with black fans, so if you don't want ARGB you can go for that one, and it is a little bit cheaper. Now in terms of price, the ARGB version is around €100, and I think the non-ARGB version is around €90, so unless you really don't want ARGB, get the ARGB version, an extra €10 and you get ARGB fans. Now if you think about in terms of value, it is sort of a mid-range sort of price, but the airflow is absolutely fantastic in this case, one of the best I've seen. And then you take into account the fans that you go with it, so you get 4 of their 140, not 120, 140 Fluctus ARGB fans in this, which are easily worth £10 each, €10 each, easily, if not more. So if you deduct that off the case, you're looking at a €60 case. So absolutely fantastic value for money. It's kind of brings it into a budget sort of case price, with you getting all the extra fans and the good fans as well. And obviously you get the hub as well to control them. They're all PWM, they're all ARGB, they're not like on some cheap cases where they're like Molex powered and that kind of thing. So it's got all the features there to make an absolutely fantastic case. If you're looking at this case and you're undecided whether to buy it, or you're looking in this sort of price range for a mid-tower case or a relatively small case, then I can give this a thumbs up and definitely recommend this. So go out and buy it if you look at shopping around there. Obviously there is other stuff out there, so take that into account as well, but this is an absolutely fantastic buy for sure. I'm really impressed with this. So again, well done Endorfy, and a thank you to them for sending this out for me for review. So that's it guys. I will have a complete review video of the cooler that I used in here, the Navis F360 AIO. I will be doing a standalone review of that, so stay tuned for that and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already subscribed, then please don't forget to subscribe. Give this a like or a dislike depending on how you feel, and leave me any comments in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you, and see you in the next video.